The morning began like every difficult morning in Daniel's life. The single father struggled to tie 3 shoelaces at once while toast burned in the kitchen. His triplet daughters giggled around him. Bills waited on the table. Rent was overdue again. Still, Daniel forced a smile and promised everything would be okay. He worked nights as a security guard and mornings delivering documents across the city. Sleep was a luxury he barely remembered. That day, a sudden call came from a corporate tower. An urgent legal file had to be delivered personally before noon. Payment was good. He couldn't refuse. He packed the girls along. The skyscraper looked like another world. Glass walls reflected sunlight and expensive cars lined the entrance. The receptionist hesitated, seeing 3 children behind a tired father. Daniel apologized politely and explained the situation. She finally allowed him temporary access, warning him not to let the children wander anywhere inside. While Daniel spoke with the front desk, the girls noticed the shiny elevators. They loved pressing buttons. Before he realized, they stepped into an open elevator nearby. The doors quietly closed. Daniel turned and his heart dropped. He ran toward it, but it had already started moving upward without stopping. Panicking, he rushed to the next elevator and pressed every button. Meanwhile, the girls laughed at first, then grew quiet. The elevator passed many floors and finally opened into a restricted executive level. The hallway was silent and elegant. Marble floors reflected their confused faces as they stepped out slowly. At the same moment, inside a conference room, CEO Victoria Hale argued with aggressive board members. They demanded she sign a deal selling the company to investors she deeply mistrusted. Pressure filled the room. One director insulted her leadership openly. Frustrated and cornered, she suddenly shouted loudly, "Shut up!" Her voice echoed into the hallway, just as the triplets stood outside the glass doors. Startled, the youngest girl began crying. Victoria noticed them through the glass and froze mid-argument. 3 tiny children stood alone on the executive floor where no visitors were allowed. The board members looked confused and irritated. Victoria stepped outside immediately. Her tone softened. She knelt and asked gently where their parents were. Between sniffles, one girl explained they were looking for their dad, who runs everywhere and forgets to breathe. Victoria almost smiled. She escorted them to her office to wait safely while security searched downstairs. At the same time, Daniel burst out of the elevator on the executive floor, breathless and terrified. Security guards stopped him, thinking he was an intruder. He begged them to listen, explaining his daughters were lost upstairs. His desperation was real. After checking cameras, they realized he told the truth and escorted him quickly. Daniel rushed into the CEO office and saw his girls eating cookies calmly, beside Victoria. Relief overwhelmed him. He hugged them tightly, apologizing repeatedly. Embarrassed, he explained everything to Victoria and tried to leave quickly, worried he might be blamed for security violation and lose his delivery payment completely. But Victoria stopped him. She studied his worn uniform, shaking hands and exhausted eyes. She asked about his job. Daniel hesitated, yet answered honestly. He told her about hospital bills from his late wife's illness and working multiple jobs to keep the girls together. He expected pity. Instead, she grew unusually silent. Minutes later, the board members barged in again, insisting she return to sign the sale contract. Daniel tried to leave, but Victoria asked him to stay. Confused, he stood beside the door holding the girls' hands. The youngest whispered loudly, asking why the mean people were forcing the lady to look sad. The innocent question filled the office with uncomfortable silence. Victoria suddenly realized something. The investors planned to replace hundreds of employees after the sale. She had been pressured for weeks and nearly agreed out of exhaustion. Looking at Daniel and his daughters, she saw exactly who would suffer from that decision. She closed the contract folder slowly. Calmly, she refused the deal. The board members reacted angrily, warning financial disaster. Yet she stood firm for the first time in months. The children's presence reminded her leadership meant protecting people, not pleasing powerful investors. The argument ended with stunned silence inside the office. Afterward, she personally completed Daniel's delivery paperwork and added a bonus payment. But she didn't stop there. She offered him a permanent position in building security with stable hours and childcare support. Daniel was speechless. He never expected a single accident to change their future completely that day. Before leaving, Victoria thanked him sincerely. He looked confused. She explained something shocking. The contract he delivered contained a legal clause her lawyer had overlooked. Because he arrived before noon, she reviewed it early and discovered hidden liabilities. His timely delivery gave her the confidence to delay signing and reconsider everything. In truth, the wrong elevator saved her company. Without the distraction caused by the girls, she would have signed under pressure minutes earlier. Instead, she paused, thought, and protected thousands of workers. She realized Daniel hadn't only saved her business, he saved her from a lifelong regret she would never escape. Weeks later, Daniel started his new job. He worked daytime hours and finally slept at night. The girls visited the lobby after school and greeted everyone proudly. Employees knew them by name. The building that once terrified them now felt like home. Stability slowly replaced the chaos that once ruled their lives. Victoria often passed the lobby and spoke with them. She seemed different too, calmer and warmer. One afternoon, the youngest girl asked why she shouted that day. Victoria laughed softly and admitted she had been scared. The child answered simply that adults should breathe slowly like their father does sometimes. Victoria smiled deeply at the lesson. She understood success was not only power or money, but clarity and courage during difficult choices. Because 3 children pressed the wrong elevator button, 2 families found peace, and a company found a better future. Sometimes accidents quietly become the most important turning points in life.